Namaste, welcome to Flow and Restore Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. So the first part of this class is Vinyasa Flow and the second part is Yin and Restorative, for which you'll want to have some additional props. Some basic props, 2 blocks and a strap, and then for the restorative part, you may want to have a pillow, a blanket, and any other additional things just to get you cozy and comfy and some of the more resting postures in the end. And then we end with about 10 minutes of guided meditation. So find a comfortable way to sit. You might like to sit on the ground, on a chair, or a folded blanket or a pillow. Make sure that you're sitting in a way that allows you to be upright in the spine, relaxed in the body, and evenly grounded through your 2 sitting bones. We've been talking quite a lot this week about thoughts, and I have a question for you. What do you notice about your patterns of thinking? Like, what is your default mood? Do you have a default mood? Are you leaning more towards pessimism on a daily basis, or optimism, or equanimity, a state of kind of neutrality and accepting what is? No judgment. It's just very helpful to pay attention to the thoughts that we give our energy, that we give our focus. Here is a quote from Abraham Hicks. By choosing better feeling thoughts and by speaking more of what you do want and less of what you do not want, you will gently tune yourself to the vibrational frequency of your broader perspective. To see your world through the eyes of Source or your inner being is truly the most spectacular view of life. For from that vibrational vantage point, you are in alignment with, and therefore in the process of, attracting only what you would consider to be the very best of your world. There's another quote, I don't remember verbatim right now, but basically how your thoughts turn into reality. So watch your thoughts. Watch the thoughts that you tend to feed. Just give your attention. Abraham Hicks also teaches about how we can, how according to the law of attraction, when you're thinking of something for just 17 seconds, a like thought will start to be attracted to it and then compound and enhance whatever the feeling tone is of the thought you've been paying attention to. So the flip side is if you're not liking the thought that you're feeding, within that 17 seconds, you can start to divert your attention towards something that is satisfying. Like when we begin the practice by offering gratitude. So let's begin. Sitting tall and relaxed, being still. Begin to scan your awareness throughout your physical body. Noticing any sensations and accepting them just as they are right now. Bring your awareness to your breathing and just breathe naturally. Feel the way you are feeling energetically. And notice any emotions you're experiencing right now, even subtle. Notice any activity in your mind. What are you focusing on? What have you been focusing on? And then let the breath in a little slower, through the nose, out through the mouth. With each inhale, feeling the seat beneath your body and rooting into it. With each exhale, feeling the lift up through the crown of your head, the back of your skull, your whole spine. Maybe bring your palms to meet at your heart, a gesture of union. You know, these different dimensions of yourself: breath, body, mind, spirit, inner being. Also a gesture of gratitude. So what do you find satisfying, at the very least, in this moment? focusing on the positive aspects that you're now experiencing in any way. And so from a place of appreciation, having already started to lift your vibration a bit more, now clarify to yourself what you want to focus on, what you want to attract or cultivate in your reality. And as a practice of moving beyond the individual self and the ego mind, I invite you to choose somebody that you care about, or a community or a cause, to dedicate this practice to today. And together, let's join our voices to create resonance by chanting Om 3 times. Inhale a little deeper. Bowing in, acknowledge the wisdom of your body guiding you in your physical practice and your own inner guidance. Let's begin to use the breath as an anchor to steady focus, practicing Ujjayi Pranayama, victorious breathing, where you close the lips, softly narrow the back of your throat, and create a very smooth, even, gentle whispering sound as you sustain your breath evenly in and out. See if you can keep that steady, softly sounding rhythm going through much of our physical yoga practice, especially the vinyasa flow portion, because we're going to move to that pace. And as you're listening to your breath, please make your way into downward facing dog. You may like to have your blocks off to each side of the top of your mat, or you could even prop your hands on your blocks at their lowest height, giving you a little more give for your hamstrings if they're feeling especially tense, or if you just want to try it out. So allow a few breaths to shift your body around in your downward dog. You may like to warm up your hamstrings, the backs of your legs, by pedaling your feet slowly in place. Maybe loosen up the neck by shaking and nodding the head a few times. Maybe loosen up the jaw by fluttering the lips or making some faces. Bring your attention to the energy and space surrounding your neck and your shoulders. Invite as much spaciousness and energy flow there by spreading your shoulder blades wider across your upper back. Rotating your outer upper arms towards the ground can create this. And then let your skull just be heavy. Completely relax your neck and jaw as you lift the shoulder blades away from your neck and onto your back ribs. Keeping all of that, inhale, shift forward into plank pose, top of a push-up, stacking your shoulders right on top of your wrists. Steady the breath, gazing on the floor just ahead of your thumbs. Press the inner heels of your feet back and activate the front muscles of your thighs. Think of knitting your frontal hip bones towards each other, contracting the lower belly. And then lengthen through the back of your neck. On your next inhale, flex your right foot off the floor where the heel is just to the height of the right hip. Try to keep your hips balanced in height. As you exhale, see if you can touch the left elbow with your right knee, keeping your shoulders right on top of the wrists. Hello, obliques. Inhale, raise the right leg back in plank. And as you exhale, bring the right knee high outside your right shoulder. Inhale back to three-legged plank. As you exhale, bend the right knee towards your chin and round the back, really contracting the abdomen here. Then softly and slowly as you can, step the right foot forward on the inner side of your right hand and lower the back knee. So whether your hands are on blocks or the floor, come into a kneeling lunge with your fingertips down, separating the legs hips distance apart, and stacking your front knee right on top of the heel. We're going to start to warm up the groins and the hamstrings a little more. So keep your feet where they are, the left toes tucked, and inhale, sinking your hips, relax the shoulders back and down. Exhale, lift your left knee, and to whatever degree is comfortable, straighten both legs by scissoring the right outer hip back, while reaching your chest forward, inviting the feeling of a flat back as you bow inside the leg. Pyramid pose. Then inhale, lower the left knee again to a kneeling lunge, gazing up. Exhale, lift up, pyramid pose. Listening to your breath, keep moving for 3 more cycles in and out. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. And exhale, pyramid pose. Step the left foot 1/3 forward, shorter stance, dropping the back heel with both legs straight into pyramid pose. And we'll be here for a few breaths. So activate the front muscles of your thighs. It's the feeling as if you're trying to lift your kneecaps towards your hips without locking the knees. Draw your sternum at the middle of your chest forward and press the shoulder blades onto your back ribs as you're firming in the belly, bowing from the hips. About 3 more breaths here in Parsvattanasana. Relax the jaw, empty this breath all the way out. Then inhale, please step into plank pose, top of a push-up. This time, exhale, glide forward, bend the elbows to 90 degrees, hugging your side ribs. Pause for an inhale in Chaturanga Dandasana. You can set the knees down if you want more support. Exhale all the way down. Root down to the tops of your feet, hug the elbows close. Inhale, cobra, roll the shoulder heads back and draw your sternum forward, Bhujangasana. Tuck your toes and exhale, press up into plank pose, then downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Steady your gaze on one focal point. Spread the shoulder blades apart by spinning your triceps towards the ground and lengthen through the neck. Lift the shoulder blades away from you. Now, if you started downward dog with hands on blocks, you might want to do the same thing here just for balance. Inhale, glide forward into plank pose, top of a push-up. Stacking your shoulders right on top of the wrist. Keep spreading the shoulder blades apart, lengthening your sternum and crown forward. How's the breath? Imagine you're drawing your 2 frontal hip bones towards each other, engaging the lower belly. Firm back through your inner heels, then inhale, raise the left heel just to the height of the hip. Try to keep your hips balanced. Exhale, cross the left knee towards the right elbow. Maybe it touches it, maybe not. Inhale, back to 3-legged plank. Exhale, bring the left knee high towards the left outer shoulder. Inhale, 3-legged plank. Exhale, lift the knee towards your chin and round the back. Now take your time as slowly and softly as you can. Step the left foot beside your left thumb and then set the right knee down. Make sure your legs are as wide apart as the hips and the front knee's right on top of the heel. Tuck your right toes. And notice if it helps to have the blocks a certain height under your hands if you're using them so that you can rest the shoulders. Inhale, sinking your hips, gaze up, kneeling lunge. Exhale, lift the right knee, and to whatever degree is comfortable, straighten both legs, drawing the left outer hip back while reaching your chest forward, bowing into pyramid pose. Let's keep going with a breath. Inhale back to kneeling lunge, gaze up. Exhale, pyramid pose. Lengthen evenly through both sides of your torso. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, pyramid pose. Now let's step the right foot 1/3 shorter stance forward. Drop the heel, feet still hips width apart. And as you slightly tack the left hip back, balance the height of your hips. Inhale, reach your sternum forward. Hugging in your front ribs, little by little as you exhale, bow from your hips. Activate the front muscles of your thighs, your quadriceps. Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Inhale, lengthen your chest forward. This time, exhale, step the right foot to meet the left so the big toes touch and fold. Let's begin 2 series in a row of Surya Namaskar B, moving to the breath. With your knees touching, maybe graze the floor with the fingertips. Inhale, sit low in chair pose. Shifting your weight back to the heels, raise the arms. Exhale, shift your weight forward and bow, Uttanasana. Press your hands on the ground or blocks. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward to Ardha Uttanasana. Walk to plank or float lightly to Chaturanga, taking it down into your vinyasa. Inhale to cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Now keeping your hips leveled in height, inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Exhale, softly step the foot forward beside your right thumb. Spin your left heel down, and inhale, rise to stand in warrior 1. As you exhale, take it all the way down to plank into your vinyasa. Follow your breath. From downward facing dog, inhale, raise your left leg back, squaring your hips. Exhale, step the foot lightly beside your left thumb and spin the right heel down. Inhale, rise up to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale into your vinyasa. Back to downward dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's cultivate stillness and focus, balancing 3 breaths as you steady your gaze. When you finish the 3rd exhale, holding your breath out, walk or float to the top of your mat. With feet touching, inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. With knees touching, inhale back to chair or Utkatasana. Exhale, rise up to Padasana. One more, sun salutation B. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen forward. Step to plank or float into Chaturanga. And take it to your vinyasa. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale the foot forward, spin the left heel down. Inhale, rise to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. Downward dog, follow your pace of breath. Inhale, the left leg lifts. Exhale your foot forward. Back heel down, inhale, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale into your vinyasa. Three breaths. pausing and recalibrating your focus to your intention. When you finish your third exhalation, walk or lightly jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, Padasana. From here, bend your elbows apart and wrap the right elbow over the left, eagle arms. Either press the backs of the hands against each other or wrap your forearms and palms. As you're sliding the shoulder blades down onto the back, spread the shoulder blades apart and bend your knees like chair. Shifting your weight onto your right foot, steady your gaze and breath. Then turn out your left thigh, flexing the foot, wrap the left leg as much as you can around the right. Sitting lower can help to feel more grounded. If it's available, tuck the left toes behind your right calf and gently draw the left hip towards the back wall. Either way, try to stack your elbows and knees down the midline of your body. A few more breaths here in Garudasana, eagle pose. As you inhale, lift your forearms a little bit higher. Prepare to take flight. Exhale, open the arms, open your wings, and come back to mountain pose. Take a moment here, maybe hands together at the heart, maybe eyes closed. Few breaths, just feel into your mental, physical, energetic state. As you're ready, bend your elbows apart. Cross your left elbow over the right. Either backs of the hands press against each other or wrap the forearms and palms. Bend your knees like chair. Sense the balance you are establishing internally first before you attempt to challenge your physical body in it. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Externally rotate right thigh at the hip. Flex the right foot and wrap the right leg over the left. Sit a little lower, it might help to balance. And if it's available, tuck the toes behind the calf and gently draw the right hip towards the rear wall. Stack your elbows and knees down your midline and feel the power of your focus. About 4 more breaths here in eagle pose, Garudasana. Remember, we talked about a balance of effort with easefulness. So let the focus have a soft quality to it, not a rigidity. On your next inhale, lift your forearms a little bit higher, prepare to take flight. And then exhale, spread your wings, let it go. One more time. Maybe rest a hand at the heart, a hand at the belly, and close your eyes for a few breaths, tuning in. So this week, we've been playing with steps to move towards Shirshasana headstand, supported headstand. Now, take your choice. We don't have too much time left in our vinyasa flow. Either practicing dolphin pose or moving with me through the steps of Shirshasana. If you already practice headstand, feel free to take it on your own. Remember not to practice it if you have any issues with your neck. Now let's set up similarly by extending the arms forward as you're sitting on your shins or your knees. Rotate your triceps down and spread the shoulder blades apart. Draw them down onto the back ribs. Those 2 actions are really important to keep doing when you're in the pose. Then interlace your fingers and create a triangle with your elbows and your outer wrists, the vertices. Sort of an equilateral triangle. Making sure your elbows stay shoulders distance apart, place them on the ground, and use the ground to push off of. You want to continuously rebound your weight off the floor so you're rooting to rise as you enter dolphin or headstand. Now, if you're entering dolphin, just let the head hang or look forward. You're not bearing weight on the head as you tuck the toes, lift the hips. If you're going to headstand, find the very tip-top center of the crown of your head to place on the ground, where you can cultivate the most length in the front and back of your neck. Use your forearms to press into the ground and tuck the toes. Then you can start to walk your feet forward while keeping your shoulders right above the elbows. Make sure the back is not beginning to round here. And then you can start to lift one leg, flex the foot, square the hips so you're not externally rotating the leg. And then maybe the opposite toes start to hover. Maybe you bend the knee of the opposite leg towards your belly, like when we practiced in plank pose, knee towards chin. And then from there, maybe you switch legs, maybe you lift both legs. Flex your feet and press the insteps towards the ceiling. Actively reach your tailbone towards your inner heels to prevent what's often called a banana back, which is overarching the lower back. So draw in the front ribs, knit your frontal hip bones towards each other, and feel the engagement of the muscles in your legs and torso. How's the breath? Whether you're practicing dolphin or headstand, give it about 5 to 10 breaths in total before we meet resting in child's pose. Keeping your head low to the ground. If you've been upside down for a while, you don't want to lift the head up too quickly and get lightheaded that way. Place your arms wherever it's comfortable for you to rest for a few breaths in Balasana. Now beginning the yin part of our practice. So as you stay in child's pose, extend your arms forward and keep drawing your hips back and down towards your heels. Begin to walk your hands over to the right, maybe reaching the hands off the mat. Maybe exploring, stepping the left palm on top of the right. Imagine breathing deeper along the left side of your torso, even down to the outer hip. About 4 more deep breaths here, lengthening through the side body. Begin to walk your hands forward through center and over to your left side. Notice what's available on this side. It might be different than the first. You might explore stepping the right palm on top of the left hand. Focus the breath a little more along the right side of your rib cage and outer hip. Couple more deep breaths. As you walk your hands through center again, slide all the way down to your stomach, and let's come into Sphinx Pose. Forearms on the floor as you're lifting your chest. Slide your knees as close together as you can. Feel all your toenails pressing into the ground as you're lengthening the tailbone back towards your inner heels. Cross the left forearm on the floor in front of your chest. Bend your right knee and backstroke your right arm. Catch hold of the big toe side of your right ankle or foot so that you can still open up the front of your right shoulder. Support your lower back by keeping your knees no wider than your hips distance apart and by grounding both of your frontal hip bones as you turn your chest completely to face forward. Let's count about 7 or so breaths, gently bringing the right heel slightly outside of your right hip. You might explore spinning your right hand at the wrist so the fingertips are facing the front of the mat. See what feels appropriate for you. Relax the shoulders, soften your neck, relax your mouth and tongue. Gently release your right leg and come back to Sphinx Pose, where you can slide the knees close together again. Cross your right forearm in front of your chest and bend your left knee. Backstroke your left arm, catch the big toe side. With your knees no wider apart than your hips distance, ground both of your frontal hip bones, turning your chest completely to face forward. And for about 7 or so breaths, draw your left heel just slightly to the outside of your left hip. You might spin the left hand at the wrist, fingertips facing forward. Feel into the energy around your neck and shoulders and face. On your next exhale, release the left leg and take a block or pillow and place it just to the right side of your skull. Slide your right arm out to the right so the palm is resting on the floor in line with your right shoulder. Plant your left hand on the floor beside your left shoulder and begin to press the ground away with it so you can slowly roll over onto your right hip, leaning the right side of your head on your pillow or block. Pause a moment and send the right shoulder head away from your neck. And then maybe continue on if your body's willing. About 10 breaths here. So just explore how much weight the inner right shoulder wants you to place on it. If you're needing a little more depth, you could step the left foot behind you on the ground. You could explore wrapping the left arm behind you, maybe the hands meet. And if all that feels really delicious, you could also explore bending the right knee and stepping the right foot on the ground too. Find your sweet spot and breathe into the areas in your body in which you're really feeling sensations. When you finish the exhale you're on, gently unravel onto your stomach. Pause there for a moment. Maybe put the pillow or block under your forehead and lie face down. Just a couple of breaths or so. Notice the effects of that posture. Notice how you feel along the left and right sides of your shoulders now. Take your time transitioning sides. Set a blocker pillow off to the left side of your skull. Slide the left arm out to the left, palm face down, in line with your left shoulder. Plant the right hand on the ground beside your right shoulder and begin to roll over onto your left hip. Resting the left side of your head on your blocker pillow, pause there for a moment and wiggle the left shoulder head away from your neck. And then maybe continue. Really pay attention to the nuances of sensations, how your body is continuously giving you feedback, letting you know just the degree it needs in this posture. Maybe you step the right foot behind you. Maybe you wrap the right arm behind you. Maybe you step the left foot down as well, or none of that. About 10 breaths in total here. One more full cycle of breath. And very slowly come back to your stomach and pause there, maybe resting your forehead on the pillow or block. Notice how your body is responding. And gently press up to hands and knees, all fours. We're going to prepare to externally rotate the thigh, the hip in single pigeon pose. If you prefer to do the hip opener where you're lying on your back, the supine version, also called thread the needle, go ahead and lie on your back. I can walk you through that in a moment if you're doing that. Otherwise, from hands and knees, turn out your right thigh at the hip and slide the shin across your mat in front of your pelvis. Slide your left leg straight behind you and tuck the left toes. Placing your hands alongside your hips, lift your pelvis off the floor and draw your right hip towards the rear of your mat while rotating your left outer hip forward until both your frontal hip bones are equally facing the front of your mat. Now, if there's a gap between your right glute and the floor, fill that gap with any of your props that makes it comfortable. And if your right shin is parallel to the front edge of your mat, make sure to flex your right foot the whole posture to stabilize your knee. Then here are some options. You could put a bunch of pillows and props in front of you and bear hug them as you bow forward. You could spinal twist, slide the left arm under the right elbow and rest the left side of your head on a pillow, block, or the floor. So this is the other thread the needle, which opens up the upper back. Or you can come into king pigeon, backstroke the left arm, catch the inside of the left ankle or foot. And as you're bringing it towards you, keep drawing the left hip forward. Maybe you keep the right hand down, you raise it up. You can take mermaid pose, where you hook the crook of your inner left elbow onto the top of the foot. Now, if you're on your back, thread the needle. The other thread the needle. Cross the right ankle on top of your left thigh. Start with the left foot on the ground. Flex the right foot, the whole posture, to stabilize the right knee. And you might begin pressing the right palm against your inner right thigh to help splay open the thigh. Maybe right here feels perfect for you. Otherwise, lift your left foot off the floor and thread your right hand between your thighs. using both hands to bring your left leg slowly closer to you. And you could use your right elbow or forearm to keep nudging the right thigh to splay open. Make sure you're resting the head down, shoulders are on the ground. And whatever version of hip opening you are practicing right now, let's tune in to 10 more deep breaths, focusing on balancing the in and out of the breath. If you are in single pigeon pose, the upright version, start to make your way onto hands and knees. If you are on your back, uncross your legs and begin to rotate your thighs together and apart for a few breaths, unflexing your feet. You can even roll the feet out at the ankles. If you're on hands and knees, you might want to roll out the right leg at the hip, just give it some movement, maybe shake it out. Encourage some blood flow towards the hip joint area. Set up in the same version of the posture as much as you can on side 2 when you're ready. For single pigeon, turn out the left thigh and slide the shin across the mat in front of your pelvis. Slide the right leg straight back and tuck the toes. With your hands alongside your hips, lift your pelvis, scissor the left hip back and rotate the right outer hip forward until both hips are equally facing forward. You might place a prop under your left glute to keep that. If your left shin is parallel to the front edge of your mat, make sure to flex your left foot the whole pose. Then relax the back toes. And if you bowed forward on the first side, you can take that. If you did the spinal twist of thread the needle on the side, thread the right arm under the left bent elbow. Rest the right side of your head on a prop or the ground. If you practice king pigeon, backstroke the right arm, catch the inner side of the right ankle or foot. You can keep your left hand down or raise it up, maybe moving towards mermaid, which adds a back bend too. And if you're on your back, for the supine, single pigeon or thread the needle, cross left ankle over right thigh. Flex the left foot. Start with the right foot on the floor and with your left palm gently splay the inner left thigh open. Notice how this feels. Decide if you'll stay here or thread the left hand between your thighs, lift the right foot, and take hold of the right leg with 2 hands, slowly bringing it towards you while nudging your inner left thigh open with the left arm. And keep relaxing your head and shoulders on the ground. You could also put your head on a pillow if that's more comfortable. So whatever variation of your hip opening, let's tune into 10 more slow breaths. When you've finished your 10 full breath, take your time to move into that neutralizing movement or posture you did on the first side to the second side. If you're on your back, you could circle the legs out, circle the feet out. If you're coming back to hands and knees, you could shake out the left leg behind you, circle it at the hip. Let's meet sitting upright, straddling the legs wide apart. In our vinyasa flow, we did not do very much external rotation of the thighs. So let's get some more in here. So as you straddle the legs wide, use your hands to cup the top of your thighs and actually rotate your inner thighs back. So the effect of rooting the sitting bones down like nails into the ground, where your kneecaps are pointing towards the ceiling and your feet are gently flexed to maintain that. If you find that your back tends to round here, you could fold a blanket, make it as high as you need to sit on the front edge of, and that will allow you to slightly tilt your pelvis forward, and then by activating the lower belly in and up, you can find that rooting of the sitting bones again. Now you might like to have props in front of you like a pillow, or create an incline out of the pillow by placing a block on the underneath the furthest end of it, away from the pelvis. And start to lift up the frontal hip bones, lift the front of the body, breathe in, drop the shoulders, keeping your throat open, shoulders relax. Exhale as you start to walk the hands forward, bow a little bit each exhale. And feel free to adjust your props, if you're using any, to the thickness that you need to meet yourself, just where you can maintain the knees pointing up, the toes pointing up, the sitting bones grounded, and a long spine without shrugging the shoulders. So this time I'm going to watch the clock for 2 more minutes here. Make sure your head is resting. If you want to lie face down, you could fold another blanket under your forehead or put a block. Or turn your head to one side. Cultivate a feeling of surrender, a sweet feeling of surrender where, okay, now you got the props, now you're in the position. Let go of efforting. Let your bones feel heavy, submitting to the weight of gravity. Now tune into at least 3 more slow breaths before you start to lift the torso up. ready, plant your hands on the ground. Gently begin to lift the skull, your shoulders, your belly. Sitting upright and still for a moment. Maybe close the eyes and just notice how your body's responding now. Let's begin to make our way onto our backs, but set aside a couple of blocks, maybe a pillow as well if you have that, near the rear of your mat. Coming into a supine spinal twist. So as you're lying down on your back, take your choice. If you want a milder version of the twist, bring the knees together bent like this. If you want to have more intensity or depth in the twist, you can wrap the right leg over the left. Slide your hips maybe another 3 to 5 inches towards the right edge of your mat from center, and then open the right arm out to the right, making sure the right shoulder stays on the floor. You can even gaze past it. Lift your feet off the ground, and then begin to drop your knees to the left side. And if they don't fall all the way to the left easily, you could use your pillows, your whatever props you have, and catch the outside of your left leg, making sure the right shoulder stays on the ground. And if you're needing a little more release in your lower back, place your left hand on your right outer hip. And as you're breathing out, gently push away your right outer hip so it tilts slightly towards the front edge of your mat. Let's stay for about 10 more breaths. When you're ready, slowly come back to center. Switch the wrap of the legs if you were wrapping them. From center, slide your pelvis another 3 to 5 inches towards the left edge of your mat. Open your left arm out to the left side, grounding that shoulder. You might gaze past it. Lift your feet and then slowly twist to your right, dropping the knees to the right side. And if it makes it more comfortable or it helps to keep the left shoulder down, you could place your pillow or props underneath the outside of your right leg to rest on. If you're wanting a bit more release for your lower back, place the right hand on your left outer hip. And as you exhale, gently push away your left outer hip, tilting it towards the front edge of your mat. About 8 more breaths here. when you're ready, come back to center. Take a moment in either happy baby pose, where you can splay out the legs or straddle the legs apart. Whether you're resting the arms on your inner thighs or clasping your big toes. In either posture, ground your tailbone, head, and shoulders, and use the floor to sort of iron the back of your spine into sort of lengthening it. Let's give it 3 big sighs or lion's breaths. So whatever exhaling technique helps you to feel a deep release. So invite a very expansive inhale through your nose. Open the mouth wide, maybe stick out the tongue, maybe open the eyes wide. Exhale any sound. And on your own, 2 more. Slide your hands to your outer thighs, draw your bent knees together, and turn to one side or gently rock up to sit, so we can set up in a supported fish pose, which I invite you to place your body in for Shavasana. If you'd rather lie flat, feel free, do what's best for you. Otherwise, you can set up a couple of blocks, one at either the tallest height or the medium height at the rear edge of your mat to rest your skull on. And then the other at the medium height, the second level, tracing the midline of your mat, so it's maybe just 1 inch away or 2 inches away from the first block, or crossing the mat so they look like an equal sign, which then it would be like 5 to 6 inches away. And then as you're keeping your pelvis on the floor, decide if you want to splay out the legs and just drop the feet open. If so, you might like to roll up a blanket or place a pillow under the backs of your knees, offering lower back support. As the pelvis stays on the floor, lean back into the blocks and aim for the area that's right about just below the bottom inner tips of your shoulder blades to land on the first closest edge of the block. So your shoulders can splay open and drop back behind you, encouraging open chest, open heart center, open breath. And as you rest the back of your skull on the furthest block, decide if it needs to be higher or lower, or just as it is, where you can feel the back of your neck naturally long and the front of your neck open. Then roll your shoulders behind you and down, walking the shoulder blades down your back ribs. Rest the backs of your hands on the floor, just beside your thighs. And now close your eyes and just take a moment to observe or scan your body, inviting symmetry along left and right legs, hips, shoulders, any little adjustment you might be able to make. And then know where you might tend to contract the body a lot when you're focusing. Consciously give those parts of your body permission to now relax. Close the eyes. Relax control of the breathing. And drop your awareness deeper inward. Shavasana. as you're resting here in stillness, another minute longer with your eyes closed, scan your awareness again throughout your body and notice how you feel physically. Being very gentle with yourself, take your time beginning to move small parts of your body first, little by little, maybe wiggling fingers, gently turning your head. And then eventually lifting your butt, turning over to your right side, resting your head there. Notice the quality of your breathing, gauging your energetic state. Does anything feel different here? As you're ready, press into the earth and find a comfortable way to sit for about 10 minutes in guided meditation. In the past few days of classes here on Zoom, we've talked about the momentum of thoughts and how we can slow the momentum of thoughts, especially if they're negative thoughts, through the act of meditating, steadying our awareness on one object of focus. So I invite you to experiment with two different objects of focus. We'll do one for half of the meditation and then the other, and then see the effects on you. All right, so find a way to sit where your spine is tall but not rigid. Your sitting bones are evenly grounded and your whole body is relaxed. You might place your hands in a mudra, one for grounding, thumb and index fingers touching, palms face down. One for cultivating an evenness of mind or equanimity is stacking the palms face up in the center of your lap, thumb tips touching. And one for energizing is Pran Mudra, peace sign in each hand, palm face up. And then either close your eyes or steady a soft gaze ahead on one spot, something that's not distracting, so that you could zoom your attention on easily. So the first object of focus I invite you to rest your awareness on for about 4 or so minutes is a sound in the background. I turned up the music, I'll turn it up just a little bit more. So these are solfeggio healing frequencies. And if you prefer a different sound that you can hear in your own background, choose a sound that's sort of like a drone, like a purifier, a heater. And let it be as easy as possible to steady your awareness on the sound. If your attention moves away from the sound you're focusing on. Know that you can always come back. The moment you notice is your opportunity. Just like when you're focusing in eagle pose, balance, steady effort with easefulness as you're resting awareness on the sound. And now notice how that felt for you, focusing on a sound as your object of focus. What came up for you? Did it feel easy or challenging? Well, now I invite you to rest your awareness on a different object of focus, and that is a sensation that you choose. Now, often I invite you to rest on the sensation of your natural breath, wherever in your body you can most easily feel it. If that works for you, you can do that. Otherwise, you might rest your attention on where your thumb tips touch. If you're stacking the palms in your lap, choosing one specific sensation. Relax into focusing. Now notice your mind state, your emotional state. What came up for you when you were focusing on a sensation? Did one object of focus or the other feel more resonant for you? Worked easier for you? You can experiment with this in your own regular meditation practice as you're finding your way into what feels most drawing for you to focus on, what's more effective for you. Now let's bring this practice to a close, joining your palms together at your heart, offering gratitude for anything that comes to mind that you appreciate. And then remind yourself of your intention today and what you might continue to highlight in your focus, even after this yoga practice. Notice the effects of continuously being intentional with what you focus on. And then call to mind whomever you dedicated this practice to. Let's join our voices as we're chanting 3 ohms, sending the vibration, the energy, the benefits of our practice off into the life around us as well, remembering that we are all on the same team, even if we sometimes forget. So let's inhale deeply. Bowing in, honoring your inner being, the source within. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.